Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Broadway film and television star, Tony and Emmy Award winner, and member of tonight's host committee, Judith Light.
Hello, hello, and good evening, and oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much. I'm thrilled and delighted to be with you tonight to celebrate two milestones, a 25th and a first. Tonight is the 25th time that Hollywood Health and Society is honoring you, the makers of television that make a difference. And it's also the first time this award bears the name of a Hollywood legend, a pioneering writer and producer of television that made and still makes a difference, who was a mentor and a model and an inspiration to so many of us, and a dear friend to me, Mr. Norman Lear. Now, Lynn, I can't believe that it's nearly 2 years since we lost Norman, and I know that no one feels his absence more than you. However, tonight, it's not his passing that we observe, but his passion and his persistence, his enduring presence in our heart and in our art. Now, everyone in our profession, every actor and writer and director and producer loves to work on a hit show. But every one of us also loves to work on a show that matters. Norman's genius was that he understood that those two loves can work as one, that entertainment can be both meaningful and successful, that purpose can also be profitable, that stories can provide pleasure while also informing and uplifting us, transporting and transforming us. And that's why I am so honored tonight to join with my co-hosts, Yvette Nicole Brown, Jimmy Kimmel, Lynn Lear, Phil Rosenthal, in welcoming you here tonight. 25 years ago, I was invited to join the new board of a new program at the new center at USC. The new program was Hollywood Health and Society. The new center was the Norman Lear Center. And the man who founded that center and who launched that program and invited me to join that board, and who's been a treasured friend ever since, is the man it is my pleasure and my honor to introduce to you now. So please welcome the Norman Lear Professor of Entertainment, Media, and Society at the USC Annenberg School of Communication and Journalism, the remarkable, the extraordinary, the voice of God, Marty Kaplan.
I love playing God. 25 years. Thank you, Judith, for your kind words. I so appreciate your counsel and your friendship. In your work, in your activism, you embody Norman's ideals. From the Ryan White story to Transparent, from human rights to civil rights, thank you for your advocacy for social justice and human dignity. Anytime you want to break in and applaud, it's fine. 2 years ago, on the morning of Hollywood Health and Society's 23rd awards event, we woke up to the news that Norman had passed at the age of 101. You got to say this about Norman, he had amazing timing. We wondered what to do. Should we cancel the event in sorrow for our loss, or should the show go on in celebration of his life? That evening, from this podium, I read Lynn Lear's answer. Norman would not have wanted us to mourn, she wrote. he'd want us to laugh. He'd want us to honor him by honoring you. We did that then, as we do again tonight. It was the Lynn and Norman Lear Family Foundation that made the Lear Center and Hollywood Health and Society possible. I can't thank you enough for that, Lynn, and for your work on our board and through the years. Please join me in welcoming an Emmy-nominated filmmaker, a celebrated environmentalist and political activist, and a dear friend, Lynn Lear.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Marty. I love these evenings. Norman and I loved coming to them. And it's a special thrill to see Norman's name on these awards. They honor what his life and work were all about: rejoicing in our differences, celebrating our connectedness, recognizing, as he liked to put it, that I'm just another version of you. Norman loved George Bernard Shaw. I don't know if everybody knows that, but he loved Shaw. And his favorite play was Major Barbara. And one of his favorite quotes from Shaw was, "There is only one religion, although there are 100 versions of it." Meaning we are all connected cells in the whole of humanity. We are all unique versions of one another. And that's the message of his shows. From All in the Family to the Jeffersons, One Day at a Time, and Clean Slate, and now to his last show, Boots. A series about a closeted teen joining the Marines that is a huge hit now on Netflix. And we have several of the crew and the creators here in the audience. Let's give them a applause. Norman would be so proud of this show. Norman's shows from a half century ago are just as relevant today and entertaining as ever. And that was driven home to me again when Jimmy Kimmel, Brent Miller, asked Norman to recreate live in front of a studio audience an original episode of All in the Family with Woody Harrelson and Marisa Tomei playing Archie and Edith Bunker. You could feel the love of the studio audience for these characters in that show and for its themes and for Norman, as if it were 1973 again. Of course, it went on for several years. It also made Norman the oldest winner of an Emmy ever. And it also, in case you missed it, last month when Jimmy was forced off the air for telling his truth, his first public reaction to his silencing was this post on Instagram, a photo of him and Norman with the caption, "Missing this guy today." I'm missing Norman too. I think we all are. I'm missing his voice, his honesty, I'm getting teary, and his wit and his values, because we need them more today than ever. There was a brief moment before Kimmel was put back on the air that I felt a sense of relief that Norman wasn't here to see what had happened to his America and his beloved First Amendment. But just as briefly, Kimmel was put back on the air, and that gave us hope. And Norman always said he never wanted to wake up in the morning without hope. Until his last few months of life, Norman would always say, "Use me, use me." Shaw believed that we are creating God through the evolutionary process of doing our best, of giving back. One of Norman's other favorite Shaw quotes was, "If you haven't overcome the fear of death, you haven't overcome the fear of death until you delight in your own life, believing it to be the carrying out of the universal purpose." That is why I'm so glad that Norman's love for all things human, his ability to laugh at our human condition, His celebration of the uniqueness and connectedness of all things will be memorialized in this name, on this award, that will help keep his legacy alive. And I want to thank all of you here for all you do to keep Norman's values alive, to keep the stream of humanity flowing in the direction of higher values on this planet, that is those of truth, beauty, and goodness. Thank you, and let's enjoy every moment of tonight.
Thank you, Lynn. There's a lot of love here tonight for you and Norman. When I'm asked what the idea of the Norman Lear Center is, I have a two-word answer. Stories matter. Stories show us who we are and who we want to be. They're vessels of our norms and beliefs. Stories are how we make sense of the world and how we make change in the world. As the title of one of our reports puts it, change the narrative, change the world. When I'm asked what the idea of Hollywood health and society is, that's also a two-word answer. Accuracy matters. Actually, there's a slew of two-word answers. Facts matter. Evidence matters. Science matters. Truth matters. It's perverse to live in a time when saying truth matters is controversial, when equity is a trigger word, when advocating the rule of law is radical lunacy. Recently, and increasingly often, I've been asked this: what would you say if you were told to play down or pare back the Lear Center's work on health disparities, say, or systemic racism, or disinformation, or climate change? When I get a question like that, my go-to is to ask myself, what would Norman say? If Norman were told for his own good to lie low, what would he say to that? I bet he'd have a two-word answer. I couldn't want a better segue to tonight's host. She was an honoree at these awards last year for her work on the HBO series Hacks. She's written and produced for such classic shows as Seinfeld, The Larry Sanders Show, Modern Family, SNL, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and she's an acclaimed stand-up comedian. Please welcome Emmy, Golden Globes, and Writers Guild Award winner, and our host of the first Norman Lear Awards for television that makes a difference, Carol Leifer.
Thank you, Marty. Good evening. How are you guys? Yeah. I'm telling you, what a pleasure to be here. So much great and important TV to celebrate tonight, and especially in honor of the icon, Norman Lear. Lynn, I should tell you that Norman and I share a birthday, July 27th, which has always been such serendipity to me, you know? I mean, sharing it with Jerry Van Dyke, that's one thing. But Norman, you know, top of the food chain. Yes. And as a writer, this night is especially meaningful to me because so much of my TV foundation was all about Norman shows. You know, All in the Family, One Day at a Time, The Jeffersons, Mary Hartman. I ate them up with a spoon. and I learned. I also had the pleasure of sharing a memorable lunch with Norman. Yeah, Phil Rosenthal invited me to one of the lunches he and the fellows shared occasionally at Carl Reiner's home, along with George Shapiro, Jerry Seinfeld's manager and executive producer of Seinfeld. It was some lunch, I'm telling you. Very, very funny people swapping jokes and stories, nonstop kibitzing, and I treasure that lunch forever. And I was just thinking of Norman the other day because I'm originally from New York, if you couldn't tell. Thank you. And I still have my New York accent, you know, so I was talking to a friend the other day who grew up in LA, and she said to me, Carol, when you were growing up, did you used to watch Maude? And I said, Maude? What do you mean, like Mod Squad? She said, no, you know, B. Arthur, Maude. And I said, oh, you mean Maude. Yeah, Maude I watched. No Maude. So I salute you all tonight. I love TV. I love working in it. My first writing job was actually on SNL in 1985. Thank you. Which is crazy when I'm still only 35. No, I am a boomer. Okay, boomer. Yeah, getting older, it is definitely a bear. You know what the worst part is? You ever have to sit down, enter your age online? Scrolling. Yeah, I am an older person. I thought WikiLeaks was a new type of pad. But, you know, as a writer, I still work with a lot of young writers. I love that. And I like to think I'm still pretty hip, pretty happening with the young people. Well, you know, I went to lunch the other day with a writer. He couldn't be more than 23, you know, and a great song came over the PA. And I said to him, oh, I really like this song. I'd love to find out what it is. And he said to me, why don't you Shazam it? And I actually went, Shazam. Thank you, Catherine. She's got a great laugh. She's got a great laugh. Study that laugh and repeat it. All right, well, tonight, okay, guys, let's laugh. Let's have fun. I know Norman would love that. And the great part is, you know, you're already winners, right? You go to these award shows, yeah, you sit there. It's like, am I gonna win? Am I gonna lose? You know, if I lose, do I have a presentable fake happy face? You know, if that son of a bitch wins, though, from that other show, I swear I'm gonna lose it. So, yeah, you're all winners, so nothing to stress about. Let's have fun. Oh, but before we get started, one little reminder for tonight's honorees. Now, obviously, we're here to celebrate you, but even though the show isn't televised, we're still on a schedule. Schedule, people. So if your thank yous go too long, we're going to crank up this primo classic Norman Lear theme song. Yes, Sanford and Son, okay? You're going to hear that and get the hook. All right, so, and that was, of course, composed by the great Quincy Jones. So now, let's get started. Okay, now, thanks to Big Pharma's TV ads, we know about severe to moderate symptoms and drugs like Jardiance, Tremfya, and Skyrizi. Now, if all those commercials are yanked from networks as proposed, how will we learn about all those terrifying side effects? from dry mouth to liver failure. And don't get me started on the ones in the nether regions. In Molly Koshin's memoir, Screw Cancer, Becoming Whole, she shared about her battle with breast cancer, and lo and behold, she also developed a supercharged libido fueled by the side effects of her meds. This inspired the podcast Dying for Sex, created by Molly's best friend, actress, and TV host Nikki Boyer, who became her health advocate and caregiver. Nikki intimately chronicled Molly's experience and offered her a creative last stand. The limited Fox on Hulu series by the same name bears witness to Molly's hysterical and heartbreaking journey. Powerfully portrayed by Jenny Slate, please give a warm welcome to Nikki Boyer.
Hi, everybody. Sequins. We got the memo. Hi. So for anyone who has ever had the privilege of caring for an alien loved one, you know that the challenge is a 64-hour-a-day, 8-day-a-week job of keeping their spirits afloat, guarding their health, and navigating this ever-challenging medical system, handling things like toiletries and dealing with the well-intentioned. The honor also comes with some burnout and some beautiful life lessons. Molly's first brush with cancer was back in 2011. She was just 37 years old. I mean, what are the chances that a lump was risky at that age? Apparently 11%. Most OBGYNs don't even recommend a mammogram until around 40 or 45. So she underwent chemo, radiation, a double mastectomy, and breast reconstruction. The whole buffet, as she used to call it. And she thought she was in the clear. 3 years into hormone therapy, the cancer returned. She was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. In the Wondery podcast that I created with my amazing executive producer, Stephanie Jens, who is with me tonight, Molly documented her bold ability to face death and to face life. Her cathartic liaisons healed old traumatic wounds of assault, and she said that being physically on fire actually makes her feel more alive. Her fortitude and our love helped me through the anguish of knowing that I would lose her. My friend died on March 8th, 2019 at 45 years old. Our podcast was released posthumously. Then Elizabeth Merriweather and Kim Rosenstock, who I love so much, brought it all back to life with their captivating and visionary series. In the final episode, Molly rallies near her death to say, oh wait, I gotta get the quote right, because she literally said this. So she said this, "It's not that fucking serious. Let's get the show on the road." Let's take a look at the show. It is a pleasure and an honor to present the 2025 Norman Lear Award for Dying for Sex. Welcome the co-creator, executive producer, and episode writer, and one of my favorite people in the whole world, Kim Rosenstock.
Please don't play me off. That's literally like my worst fear ever. Okay, thanks. Thank you to the Hollywood Health and Society for recognizing our show. It means so much to receive an award named after Norman Lear, who basically invented the idea that a half-hour comedy can tackle tough, even taboo subject matter. Liz Merriweather and I are allegedly comedy writers, and so we knew the uphill battle we faced as we set out to make a comedy about incurable illness, sexual trauma, and death. We had also been told that audiences didn't want to watch a show about millennial women, like, at all. Apparently, this is true, stories of women between the ages of 29 to 44 are not hot at all. This was very disappointing news to us for many reasons. But we kept going, kind of just maybe thinking someone would stop us at some point. But also trusting that there was a way to make millennials feel hot and to make dying feel hopeful and to make a woman advocating for herself in the American healthcare system feel as thrilling as the kinky sex she's having with her weird, dirty neighbor. The final episode in which we watch Molly let go of her body was the culmination of years of research and conversations with cancer patients, palliative care workers, doctors, caretakers, hospice nurses. It was our most collaborative undertaking. Between our transcendent cast led by Michelle Williams and Jenny Slate, our incredible design team and crew, our brilliant editors and composer, and our wise director, Shannon Murphy, who helped release us from the idea that this show needed to feel like a comedy and embrace the fact that it just needed to feel like a life. Our most important collaborator was the person we couldn't talk to, but were in constant conversation with, Molly Cochin, the real woman whose life inspired our story. She died a year before we began working on this show and left a map of her physical and emotional experience in the form of a podcast recorded with her best friend, Nikki. It's an extraordinary piece of audio bursting with the love story of their friendship. And it ends with Molly allowing Nikki to record her in her final days in hospice. And this act of bravery and intimacy is what allowed us to tell this story. The truth is in the details. And the most gratifying and humbling part of this whole experience has been getting messages from people in the stage 4 breast cancer community thanking us for depicting those details and making them feel seen. One woman wrote, "This feels like a show for us, speaking our language, and I just can't believe it." It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but even if it wasn't, I'd be telling you that in the US alone, someone dies from breast cancer on average every 12 to 13 minutes. The majority of those deaths are from metastatic breast cancer, yet most breast cancer research dollars go to early stage cancers because they're considered curable. But new treatments for metastatic breast cancer are still being discovered that are giving patients more time and better quality of life. And if you're looking for a place to give your money, I really recommend Mediviver, the only nonprofit dedicated exclusively to metastatic breast cancer research. There's a quote from the real Molly that I kept coming back to as I was writing. She said, "This journey takes you to the bottom of the emotional and physical well, and then to the top, and then back to the bottom again." That's the consistency of it, the unrelenting rhythm. It's rude, it's unfair, it's arbitrary. The moments I try to focus on are when I'm at the top of the well or can see the opening up ahead. Those are born out of a variety of things, human connection being at the top of the list. Thank you.
Mazel tov. Okay, well, we have a lot of medical shows that we're saluting tonight. So how about a doctor joke? Lighten it up, is that okay? Okay, well, guy comes home from the doctor. Wife says, "So what did the doctor say?" Guy says, "He told me I have 24 hours to live." The wife is like, "Oh my God. Well, what would you like to do?" Guy says, "How about sex?" Have a little sex, okay? The wife says, "All right, what would you like to do now?" Guy says, "How about sex again?" They have a little more sex. Wife says, "All right, what would you like to do now?" The guy says, "How about sex one more time?" The wife goes, "Look, I gotta get up in the morning." Oh, thank you, Daddy. Well, moving on. Don't you just love when politicians try to be funny at our expense? At a town hall this summer, a senator from Iowa, hearing that as a result of Medicaid cuts, people could die, replied with a sigh and a smile saying, "Hey, we're all gonna die." No sense of humor. Now tell that to millions of vulnerable Americans who find clinics closed and insurance premium rate hikes just in time for open enrollment this Saturday. As funding grants for research are being drastically cut, our next honoree, Grey's Anatomy, explores a real-life, cutting-edge medical breakthrough in studying Alzheimer's, straight from the pages of medical journals. So please, won't you welcome Jason George, whose character, Dr. Ben Warren, appeared in 100-plus Station 19 episodes and in 179 of Grey's 450 episodes, and counting. Please welcome.
The encounter was very important. The and counting part was very important to me. I have 3 kids. I'd like to pay for them. Here's the problem with actually setting it up so that you get played off with, Sanford and Son. Right. I love the song. I'm going to sit here and just talk forever until they play me off a little bit. At no time in recent American history has medicine been so under siege. Evidence-based science squashed and quack theories hawked. And now medical research is threatened by massive funding cuts. Patients are at risk from disrupted clinical trials, even with pediatric cardiac and cancer studies. And there's a brain drain in the scientific community. All while medical research has made remarkable advancements in finding a cure for cancer, treating heart disease, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS, and many other diseases. At the same time, AI, 3D technology, robotics, wearable devices, gene editing, transplanted pig kidneys, and precision medicine has transformed science fiction into fact. Grey's Anatomy follows the healthcare workers fighting daily to keep patients alive. In the Ridin' Solo episode, one fight focuses on how research physicians have to jump through countless hoops to apply for the grants that offer, to a select few, the investment desperately needed to turn a thesis into a clinical trial and eventually, hopefully, into therapies for incurable diseases. This storyline was inspired by the work of Dr. Sangram Sisodia, director of the Center for Neurobiology at the University of Chicago, whose studies offer outstanding contributions in the causes of Alzheimer's. But if you watch the show, you know it's both a personal and professional pursuit for Meredith Grey. In this episode, Doctors Grey and Shepard face bureaucratic setbacks and unscrupulous competition when seeking funding for their groundbreaking work. But when bias is also revealed, they confront the grantors about not unlocking a cure for the most impacted patients: women. Let's take a look. I am honored to present the 2025 Norman Lear Award to Grey's Anatomy for their episode Ridin' Solo. Please welcome writer Sandra Hamada and to accept the award.
It's surreal to be accepting an award for a series that was once banned in my household. That wasn't always the case. The first few seasons, my family gathered every week to laugh and cry with Meredith, Christina, Alex, Izzy, and George. But then one day, my dad came home. He had been diagnosed with sarcoma, a rare type of cancer of the tissue. He had 3 months to live, and he was only 50. As he faced his own mortality, he couldn't bear to hear the sounds of hospital monitors blaring as patients flatlined on RTV. So no more McDreamy, no more crash carts, no more Meredith Grey crying under the sounds of chasing cars. But in all seriousness, I felt angry. My dad was too young to die, and I was 20. I was too young to say goodbye to my dad. But he refused to give up without a fight. He was stubborn. He didn't die after those 3 months, or 6, or 12. My dad lived 8 years past his 3-month terminal illness diagnosis. And that's all thanks to the researchers at UCLA's Oncology Center. The clinical trials that extended my dad's life gave me 8 more birthdays with him. My dad got to see me graduate from college, learn to drive, and travel the world. In our writer's room, we often ask ourselves, how do we make medical research sexy? How do we break down these wonky concepts about funding, equity, and public policy? And I believe we do so by showing this relentless, persistent fight. The fight Meredith Grey has in this episode when she rejects the status quo and refuses to accept a public health system that excludes women. The fight that the researchers like those at UCLA's Oncology Center had for my dad and their patients. And the fight that my dad had to, against all odds, live for himself, for me, for our family. It is this fight that gives us hope. It changes lives and helps us imagine that a better world is possible. Thank you to our showrunner, Meg Marinas, our partners at ABC, 20th, and Shondaland for helping us to tell these stories. Thank you to Hollywood Health and Society for this recognition and for being instrumental in shaping this narrative by connecting us with Dr. Sisodia, who is leading the groundbreaking work on estrogen and Alzheimer's. We are incredibly honored and humbled. Thank you so much.
Wow, I really love that. That clip was so great. I loved it. Women speaking up for women. Yeah, love it. That's right. Yeah, women, you know, we're doing great, but we still have big strides to make, for sure. You ready for this? A girlfriend of mine just got a new job. First question the new boss asked her was if she could make a good cup of coffee. Yeah, she stormed right out of that Starbucks. What are they doing? All right, our next honoree is for a show which takes a new spin on an old favorite. The television series Matlock stars Kathy Bates. Yeah, Oscar winner. As a retired, high-powered lawyer whose daughter dies tragically from an opioid-related overdose. In season 1, Kathy's character assumes a fake name, Madeline, aka Maddie Matlock. Maddie also creates a new identity and uses her wily ways to land a job at the very law firm she believes buried evidence which could have saved her daughter. Here to present the next Norman Lear Award, a performer who was Emmy-nominated for Parenthood, starred in Kevin Probably Saves the World, and plays Julian Markston on Matlock. Please welcome Jason Ritter.
Who hid those documents? Thank you so much for having me. Anyone who's ever had a friend or family member grappling with an addiction knows that the disease doesn't just upend the addict's life. The ripple effect of the disease can destroy the lives of their loved ones as well. There is a saying often heard in recovery rooms, specifically aimed at family members or loved ones of someone deep in their disease. The phrase is, you didn't cause it, you can't control it, and you can't cure it. Medical experts involved in addiction treatment know so much more now than they did 10 years ago. Most folks wouldn't pass judgment on a friend with diabetes or high blood pressure, and the same concept applies to someone with a substance use disorder. They too are battling a disease which also needs to be treated. Addiction is a disease and not a moral failing, and those who suffer deserve compassion. In episode 5, titled Claws, the firm where Maddie works takes on a class action lawsuit, and when the main witness, Katya, a manicurist in recovery, relapses, Maddie's feelings about her late daughter, Ellie, start to bubble up. And Maddie's the first to notice Katya is using again, and later she intervenes when Katya hits rock bottom. So in the clip you're about to see, Maddie has a heartfelt conversation with her grandson about his mother's journey in recovery. Take a look. I am personally pleased to present the 2025 Norman Lear Award for a moving episode about addiction and recovery to Matlock. And please welcome the Claws episode writer, Michelle Leibel.
What a thrill to be able to represent long nails on television. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the Hollywood Health and Society and the Norman Lear Center for this recognition. I had the special privilege of attending these awards a few years ago with A Million Little Things, and it's an honor, it's an honor to be back again as a recipient. And of course, to have it be presented to me by the delightful Jason Ritter, who I've now worked with twice, and he knows this, but he is stuck with me. I want to first say thank you to Jenny Snyder-Ehrman, who sadly could not be here tonight, for creating this brilliant reimagining of Matlock. And of course, as you all know, even though one person's name is on the written by credit, this episode and all of our episodes would not have happened without the work of everyone in our very talented writer's room, some of whom are here this evening, as well as our wonderful director and our incredible cast and crew. I am so grateful to have the opportunity to tell stories that remind audiences that every person who struggles with addiction is so much more than that. They have more to their story than the hardest thing they've ever dealt with. As Jason said, addiction is a disease, only it's one we're all susceptible to. I can tell you from experience that when you're in constant pain, you will seek out anything that will give you relief. And while I was fortunately able to wean off the drugs I was given, after over a year of working on a show that shines a light on the opioid crisis, I know that all it takes is one accident, injury, surgery, access to someone's medicine cabinet for something they were benignly prescribed, and suddenly you can find yourself on a ride you can't get off of. And then, in a trick devised by the Sacklers themselves, you could end up being blamed for it. Because for years, we were told that the pills being prescribed to us were safe, despite evidence all around us of the contrary. The only people who could become addicted to opioids were addicts. And addicts weren't people at all. The Sacklers lured us into a false sense of security, and by the time we discovered they were lying, they'd already made us believe that addiction is something that only happens to others. Some good news. Opioid deaths have gone down almost 27% since 2023, thanks to widespread efforts of targeted treatments like medication-assisted treatment, naloxone, and harm reduction programs. All of which approach recovery with the understanding that it is a process and relapses are not synonymous with failure. I am a strong believer that community is the solution to most problems. People helping each other instead of relying on systems of power that gain more from dividing us than bringing us together. But we can't recognize community if we don't see each other as peers. And we won't see each other as peers until we're able to break through the stigmas put in place by people who stand to gain from them. I hope I and everybody in this room continue to have the opportunity to put these types of stories on screen because I really believe they make a difference. Thank you again for this honor.
Cool. I love Matlock. I love the original. How many of you remember that one? Yeah. Andy Griffith. I actually have a bit of a connection to the Andy Griffith Show. I don't know if I told you this or not, but I do come from a show business family. Yeah, my dad was the whistler on the Andy Griffith Show. I know. Some people go, really? No, it was a joke. 'Tis a joke. And I don't know if I said Shana Tova to my fellow Jewish honorees, attendees. Yes? Okay. Ask a Jewish person, how are you? Here's something you'll never hear. Can't complain. And since we do have some medical statistics tonight, I actually have one about us Jewish people. Did you know, Jewish people, we have the lowest incidence of depression among all the religions? Surprising, right? Yeah, I don't know why it is statistically. You know, my only hunch would be that in our deepest, darkest hour, there's always some small voice that's like, oh my God, I hate my life. I can't believe it. I don't want to go on. Oh, look, cake. Yeah. All right. Everything, everywhere, all at once. Who knew that movie's wacky alternate universe would come to reflect our reality? The surreal dangers we face now include assaults on science, Tylenol, anyone? Threats to our First Amendment rights? Hello, Jimmy Kimmel? And the termination of DEI programs with the bizarre claim that it's, quote, a radical, illegal, and immoral discrimination program. Yeah, right. In this time warp of erasing decades of civil rights, it's a shattering blow for communities of color and negatively impacts us all. From the Chicago Triumvirate, ruling Wednesday nights, medical drama Chicago Med took on the issue of racial disparities in healthcare. Presenting for the category, please welcome comedian, actress, and producer, Angelina Spicer. Angelina Spicer, sorry, Angelina. Thank you.
Yes, Angelina Spicer is the name, yes. Well, even in medicine, where highly skilled physicians are hell-bent on saving people's lives, unconscious bias creeps in with adverse consequences. A history of unequal treatment has caused distrust of medicine among Black patients. Inherent inequalities range from insurance coverage, lack of access to quality of care, and poor communication. This affects many marginalized peoples, including immigrants, LGBTQ+ people, rural residents, and people with disabilities. In season 10, a heartbreaking storyline focuses on a Black woman with a history of miscarriages who tried for 8 years to get pregnant and finally succeeds. As her due date approaches, she's alarmed about abdominal pain, only to be dismissed. She persists in advocating for herself, but it would take an intervention by a charge nurse, Maggie Lockwood, to recognize the warning signs and to acknowledge her concerns. A provider not realizing certain health complications that disproportionately affect people of color, such as preeclampsia, sickle cell, high blood pressure, leads to bad outcomes. Here's a disturbing fact. In the United States, the rate for maternal mortality is twice as high as other developed countries. Worse yet, Black women. We are at the highest risk to die from birth-related causes. These sobering statistics should be unacceptable in America. With this knowledge, the patient's journey and the message couldn't be more painful. Please, let's take a look. Wow. As someone who had poor outcomes during the delivery of my daughter, and had severe postpartum depression and anxiety and almost did not make it during the delivery of my daughter, I am personally very, very touched by this episode and extremely grateful to the team for writing this. I am very pleased to present the Norman Lear Award to Trustfall. Please accept the honor in welcoming Chicago Med's writing team, Lauren McKenzie and Andy Gettins.
So the last time that I won an award was in kindergarten on Halloween for the ugliest costume, which didn't really feel like an award so much as a way to inform my mom that my Dracula outfit didn't fit very well, which I only mention to highlight the fact that this is truly a surprise and honor which we really both intend to savor.
Yeah, agreed. And it is an honor and one we don't take lightly, particularly given that this episode was deeply personal and inspired by my own experience of having a baby, where I developed preeclampsia, began hemorrhaging, and was rushed into an emergency surgery, wondering if I was actually going to live through my delivery. Luckily, I did, because I had amazing doctors the whole way. But there are those, particularly women of color, like Elise in our story, who lose their child or their own life because they don't receive that care.
More specifically, a black woman is almost 5 times more likely to die in childbirth than a white woman due to factors which we've heard, including discrimination, pre-existing conditions, and implicit bias by healthcare providers. All issues that can and should be easily addressed. And we feel very grateful to have been able to shine a small light on these kinds of stories so that hopefully someday they don't happen at all.
But as everyone in this room knows, TV is a team sport, and this episode was no exception. So we share this award with our amazing partners at NBC Universal, Wolf Entertainment, our incredible cast and crew, and our fellow writers at Chicago Med for helping craft this story. Hoot, Meredith, Danny, Lauren, Ryan, Zoe, Deanna, Connor, Eli, Ashley, Dylan, and of course, our fearless showrunner, Alan McDonald, who encourages us to find the humanity in the stories we tell and to always put a piece of ourselves into our writing.
Also, super quick thank you to our families, our 3 kiddos, our nanny, our wonderful moms, Randy and Jane, who supported us as delusional children who thought they could work in TV and film.
And lastly, we just want to say that this is a difficult time to tell stories like this that focus on marginalized groups and the real struggles that they face in healthcare and in America, but that means it's even more important that we don't stop telling them.
So thank you to Hollywood Health and Society, the Norman Lear Center for hosting this celebration, but more importantly, for doing the amazing day-to-day work you do in bringing truth to these narratives, and for gathering this inspiring room of people together who also aren't backing down from the fight. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Fulb. I'm director of Hollywood Health and Society. And I'm here to do our little commercial for our services and a little bragging about the Lear Center as a whole, so just bear with me. And I admit it's been a rough year. If you're at a network or a studio, you probably got a letter from me. We got funding cuts, personally, to the Norman Lear Center. Of course, we've all seen the attacks on science and the attacks on facts in general. Among other things, I've had to cut our staff in half. So I really want to give our tireless cohort of 4 a special shout out for pulling this fabulous event together. Please give it up for Roberta Kruger, Armene Kurayan, Gracie Fletcher, and Christian Hurtado. I mean, seriously, 4 plus me, but you know. Anyway, I'd also like to thank all of tonight's volunteers. There are a bunch of people that I just called in favors. There's a bunch of students at USC that we just wrangled and said, you have to come help us. So thank you to all the volunteers. And especially thank you to our funders who have remained steadfast with the Norman Lear Center, and to our sponsors who have generously helped support tonight's event. So thank you all. I'll give you one more round of applause. And now, since it's our 25th anniversary, I get to do a little horn tooting. So for 25 years, Hollywood Health and Society has been a go-to resource for TV writers to get factual information and connect with experts on the front lines of health, medicine, and science. Many of you have worked with us, but not all of you. So it's my commercial to you. Since its inception, we have held nearly 5,000 consultations with hundreds of TV shows and movies airing on dozens of broadcast, cable, and streaming platforms. And here's just a sample of the kinds of experts we can bring into your writers' rooms. I'm not gonna read them all, you can read them. These are just a few of what we bring, and some of you know this. It's nothing but the best for all of you. In fact, some of our experts are here tonight, and I also want to say thank you to them. So thank you to the experts that are here. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but all of our services are free. Yes, free, pro bono, they are. So in addition to our on-demand services, we hold panel discussions, screenings, roundtables, on-location trips, all kinds of fun activities to inform and inspire your next storyline. Just a couple months ago, actually, you can pull up the next slide, we hosted a panel at the Writers Guild on sleep disorders. Did you know that 50 to 70 million Americans are affected by a chronic sleep disorder? I didn't know that. And I'm not talking about losing sleep over the state of our democracy. I'm talking about real diagnosed sleep disorders like sleep apnea, narcolepsy, and others. And many people go undiagnosed for years, decades sometimes. And some of the symptoms are really unusual and fascinating and would make great storytelling. But the symptoms are not falling asleep in your soup or while you're driving. I can count on one hand how many shows have dealt with sleep disorders, and even fewer that have done it accurately. So there's plenty of opportunity out there for next year's Norman Lear Awards, I'm just saying. But these are the kinds of activities that we do, we offer to you, they're always free, and we invite you to come hear from experts, people with lived experience, and get your next story idea. So if you're working on a storyline and you want to connect with an expert or a person with lived experience, or maybe you're looking for new ideas, we have operators standing by to take your calls. So Holly, only the boomers get that joke anymore, I'm telling you. I do it all the time, and it's only us old people that get it. I heard you over there, Joe. So call us, email us, text us, send up a smoke signal. We're here to help. It's all free. And so what have you got to lose? So give us a call. So, okay, you can clap for that. I'll take it. So as Marty said earlier, accuracy matters, and we're seeing how it does tonight, now more than ever before, when some falsehoods are coming from the highest echelons of our public health system. You've all heard stories about how your shows have affected your own audiences. I'm sure you get fan mail, you get social media posts, and you've learned how sometimes your show even saves lives. And I'd like to take a moment to highlight, now comes more horn tooting, the work of the Norman Lear Center's research arm, the Media Impact Project, that collects quantitative and qualitative actual data on the impact that your shows have. They recently completed a study on the first season of one of our honorees tonight, The Pitt. And yes, come on. I mean, we can't clap for it more, you know? And they found in this study that accurate, expert-informed health stories built around authentic characters have the power to actually shift attitudes and move audiences to take action. So here's just a few of the takeaways. 1 in 4 viewers of the organ donation storyline on The Pitt sought more information about the topic. Viewers were almost 3 times more likely to seek information than non-viewers. Additionally, medical professionals said, this always blows me away, and you guys know it. You've heard from them, I know. Medical professionals said they felt seen watching The Pitt because its characters and storylines captured both the challenges and the heroism of life on the front lines. And finally, nearly 90% of viewers said the show not only educated them, but helped them to better understand the pressures facing providers and the impact of systemic problems like understaffing. In fact, I just have to tell you a quick story. One of the folks that works with us at the Lear Center had watched The Pitt, and he had to take his son to the emergency room for something. And they're sitting in the emergency room, and of course it's crowded and it's taking forever. And he said, normally I would have gotten up there and went up to the desk and sort of complained about how long it was taking, and my son was getting agitated and all the rest of it. And then he said, but you know, because I watched The Pitt, I understand what those healthcare providers are doing. And I said to my son, who was a teenager, they're doing their best. And we just have to be patient and wait. And he wouldn't have done that if he hadn't seen The Pitt. So that's just a personal story that one of our staff members told me. Anyway, this is what we honor tonight, the impact that your shows have on audiences. TV that entertains, but also makes a difference. So thank you all.
Kate from USC, yes. USC, I went to school in New York. I'm a graduate of Queens College. Hold your applause, thank you very much. Queens College, yeah, very tough to get in. Yeah, you need a pen to get in. Very, very tough. All right, how are the Dodgers doing? Tied? Yeah, my son and my wife were going to come tonight, but lost out because of the Dodgers. Yeah, my son is 18, graduated from high school this year. As a little present, we took him to Greece, the movie. And yeah, you know what? When he was going to school, though, you know, I found parents to be slightly obnoxious when I told them I was a TV writer. You know, these parents that were like, oh, we don't let our child watch TV. Please. Watch TV. We had our son strapped to a chair with his eyes pried open like Malcolm McDowell in A Clockwork Orange. Let's go, son. We got 8 more seasons of SpongeBob to watch. Let's go. And my wife, she was going to come. Next month is our 10-year anniversary. Look at that. Yeah, we got married in 2015 when it was legal across the board. We made that commitment, even though we'd been together for 29 years. And we also wanted to get married when our son was old enough, you know, to remember it and experience it. So he was 8 at the time. This is crazy, though. We sat him down to tell him we were going to get married. He turns to us and he goes, but 2 girls don't marry each other. Isn't that wild? I mean, it was tough enough to tell my mother I was a lesbian. Then I had to break it to her that her grandson was a Republican. I mean, come on. Okay, well, in Los Angeles, we all have friends who pay a lot of money to keep themselves young looking. Collagen, facelifts, the sky's the limit. And some of these procedures, I mean, it's really, really nutty. And women are getting plastic surgery so much younger now. Have you noticed that? Yeah, I know a woman who's 25, she got a brow lift. I'm like, why? She's like, I looked tired. Take a nap, bitch. Come on. But if you're still feeling sad about aging, I have some cool facts to share. Did you know that every 8 seconds, someone in the US turns 65? Not here in LA, of course. No, everyone's still 39. But get this, 65 also means you're eligible now for Medicare and also eligible for Skechers slip-ins. Which brings us to our next category, caregiving. Now, here to tell us more is Wendy Matlock, who I know personally, not only as a dedicated animal lover, but we were in a Seinfeld episode together, The Kiss Hello, Hello? Yeah, she played the physical therapist. I played her assistant, and George got mad because she required 24 hours notice for cancellations. But anyway, I mean, her credits go on and on. She is amazing. But now, in Shrinking, she plays Dr. Julie Barham, neurologist, and now significant other of Harrison Ford's character, Paul. So please welcome my friend, Wendy Matlock.
Thank you. The Apple TV series Shrinking explores the world of vital caregivers many of us depend on every week to help untangle our emotional knots, therapists. The last Thanksgiving was the season 2 finale in which we find our characters facing some hard truths about themselves. As Paul, played by Harrison, wisely comments to his protege, Jimmy, the revelation is the healing. Paul has been diagnosed with Parkinson's. As an accomplished and composed therapist, he was understandably reluctant to show how increasingly vulnerable he was, but as many of us have learned, we're all going to end up being caregivers or needing caregivers, or both. Although he feels shame when people notice his tremors, he knows that as his symptoms progress, he's going to need a lot more help. The loss of agency is a gnarly reality check, and maybe even harder for those who have spent their careers caring for others only to find that they need a caregiver themselves. In this clip, Paul has decided to skip his meds and reveal to his friends and loved ones the extent of his condition. It's a big lift for a guy used to being the person others lean on. Take a look. Here to accept the Norman Lear Award for the compassionate depiction of caregiving, please welcome the co-writer and executive producer, Neil Goldman.
These days I've been barely
Cool, both. It's a true honor to win one of these, especially now that you've changed the name of it. It's like Sentinel Award, oh, Norman Lear Award, ooh, it's pretty cool. So thank you very much on behalf of not only Bill Lawrence and Brett Goldstein, who couldn't be here tonight, but on behalf of the other co-writers of this episode, Rechna Fruchtbaum, Brian Gallivan, Ashley Nicole Black, Bill Posley, Sophie Selig, Sasha Garin, and even Zach Bornstein. As you may or may not know, Shrinking is a show about a therapist who breaks every ethical rule in the book. So we've never been recognized for our accurate portrayal of anything. Usually we just get yelled at, mostly by our shrinks. But I guess that's okay, because our show isn't supposed to be a primer on therapy. Our show is a metaphor for the importance of communication and connection. And while it may not always be true in the technical sense, we do always strive to be emotionally true, which in many ways is equally as important. Yeah, right? For example, we're lucky enough to work with Harrison Ford, who inhabits the role of a man stricken with Parkinson's disease with such grace and vulnerability that when he speaks of how in his darkest hours he's going to need to lean on those around him, we hopefully realize he's speaking for all of us, no matter what adversity we may be facing. I also feel compelled to point out that it's quite fitting and perhaps not an accident that an episode, a whole series really, about the importance of always having each other's backs and taking care of each other is made by a cast and crew that truly always has each other's backs and takes care of one another. And wouldn't the world be a much better place if we all did? So thank you to Hollywood Health and Society. Thank you, Warner Brothers. Thank you, Apple. Thank you, Norman. Bannett. Bannett.
Okay. Wendy, maybe see you for the Seinfeld reboot. You never know, fingers crossed. I have to say, the question I get asked the most, having worked on Seinfeld, is, what is Jerry Seinfeld like? And I gotta tell you, he's a mensch of mensches. I'll tell you a little story. When I was working on the show, I got a call from my mom on Long Island that my dad had taken a fall. Bad enough that he hit his head and he had some dementia. I was beside myself. I went into the writer's room, told the guys, and Jerry said to me, "Oh, Carol, you're in luck. I'm going to New York tomorrow. Come with me on the private jet, and I'll get you to Long Island to see your dad." I said, "Fantastic." So the next day, we go on Jerry's jet. It's fantastic. He had lox and bagels from Nate and Al's, and fantastic. And I got to New York, and I went to the hospital. I saw my dad. And I was so relieved. When I got to the hospital, my dad was lucid. He was doing so much better. Went home that night to my folks' house, and very relieved. I go to the hospital the next day. I wanted to the nurse. I said to her, hey, how's my dad doing today? She says, "Oh, not so good." I said, "You're kidding. He was doing so good yesterday." She said, No, the dementia's back. I said, "Really?" She said, "Yeah, he woke up this morning talking about how his daughter flew in on Jerry Seinfeld's private jet. Lox and bagels at 30,000 feet. So, all right. Now, as Californians, we all know too well what happens during extreme weather events. Now, last January, we experienced hellish and heartbreaking wildfires, with some here tonight losing their homes. And sadly, climate change is here and happening faster than was earlier predicted. And someone who resides in the White House has the nerve to call it a hoax. But still, we try our best to adapt to these changes. Solar power, electric vehicles, and the elimination of single-use plastic are all on the rise like never before. In fact, this month, for the first time, renewables are the dominant energy source globally. Yes, that deserves applause. Okay, so her credits include Sex Life, The L Word, and in Person of Interest, she played an intelligence operative. And in Paradise, she plays a psychiatrist. Please welcome Sarah Shahi.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. The science in this Hulu series, created by Dan Fogelman, is not just sci-fi hyperbole. In reality, there are more than 100 volcanoes beneath Antarctica that could erupt, melting ice shelves and triggering catastrophic sea levels, perhaps triggering a mega tsunami. Sleep well, everybody. When that actually happens in our show, suddenly the US president and his inner circle must evacuate, escaping to a tenuously idyllic bunker full of fake sunshine, imitation cheese fries, and people with nefarious secrets, all overseen by, of course, a diabolical tech billionaire. This doomsday tale looks deeply at how we each might emotionally handle a disaster and how some bravely stand up to the power hungry. Paradise is a wake-up call in the guise of a brilliant political crime thriller. In the episode The Day, we're thrown back 3 years to that fateful day. Let's catch Bob Woodruff's breaking news report of the terrifying tipping point. So I am proud to present the 2025 Norman Lear Award for Climate Change to Paradise. To accept, please welcome executive producer and writer John Hoberg and writer Stephen Markley.
Thank you. This is an incredible honor. I want to accept it on behalf of the cast and crew and writers of Paradise. And as everyone here knows, these things are always collaborative, and this was a full team effort. But our team was led by Dan Fogelman, and he hates when I'm sincere, so I'm going to be sincere. Dan, you're the most creatively giving and genuine and thoughtful, handsome writer I know. And your empathy shines through in everything you do. Okay, I'm done. We'll never do that again, I promise. But now to address the important issue of climate change, I brought one of our writers, Stephen Markley, author of the New York Times best-selling climate change novel, The Deluge, to scare the shit out of you.
Thanks, John. So, never read off a teleprompter before. In 2012, the state of North Carolina passed a law censoring the use of climate change data for future policymaking. Now they're watching houses on the Outer Banks collapse into the ocean, while homeowners who've never experienced flooding before drown in their own living rooms during hurricanes. Meanwhile, our government has embarked upon an unprecedented campaign to censor the irrefutable science of the climate crisis, to scrub reality from research, from universities, and eventually, I'm sure, from popular media. Not that Hollywood has exactly covered itself in glory on the subject. In the past 40 years, the industry has collectively greenlit maybe 4.5 stories on climate. And that silence has played a direct role in shaping the disregard we see in the popular imagination. The world is 1.5 degrees hotter, with endless disaster befalling people in every country, on every continent, and every story we greenlight that does not reflect that reality is essentially happy-go-lucky science fiction. Denial continues to be a piss-poor strategy, yet even after 16,000 homes and structures in our own city burned to the ground, it's never been harder to create film and television about this singular catastrophe that will define all of our futures. That's why it's so important for creatives and the industry that shepherds our stories to take risks and speak truth to power. So thank you, Dan, for taking this massive swing with Paradise. Thank you, Hulu. And thank you to the Norman Lear Awards for recognizing work that engages with the reality of our fight for the future and not just the happy horseshit science fiction.
Thank you.
Okay, getting to the home stretch. You still have good energy? Oh yeah, I know you do. Okay, now, if your health insurance rates are about to skyrocket, don't panic, because I recommend heading over to the Warner Brothers lot and ask the guard at the gate where they shoot the Pitt. I watch it, and you can't tell me they don't know what they're doing over there. The Emmy-winning HBO Max series, The Pitt, broke the medical drama mold. Its impactful 15 episodes take place over one intensely long shift, each episode representing an hour in a high-volume ER. Viewers experience a brilliantly written show with performances that were also Emmy-winning, along with a compelling insider look at the embattled healthcare system in 2025. So here to present our final award, hey, 2 degrees between Carol Leifer and People, an actress who was also in an episode of Seinfeld. And Catherine, wasn't it your first sitcom role? Oh, that's right. And Grant Show, her husband, Melrose Place. Yes. So Catherine was in an episode that I wrote called The Beard. How crazy is that? And her credits, of course, also include Big Love, Longmire, Justified, and now you all know her as charge nurse Dana Evans. So please welcome, she owes it all to me, Emmy winner Catherine Manassa.
Thank you, Carol. I'll laugh loudly for you anytime. All right. Tonight, we're shining a light on the entire first season of The Pitt, a day in the life, tour de force on the front lines. Embraced by audiences, this series portrays critical issues and offers insight and real-life resources, all with painstaking accuracy, which has also earned respect from medical professionals across the country. The Pitt expresses a vision for healthcare as a value and a human right that should be accessible and affordable. And despite the challenges of understaffing and lack of resources, it rises up to reflect our better angels. To quote the New York Times, The Pitt is a TV throwback with an of-the-moment message about systems pushed to the breaking point. Also embraced by audiences, each of the show's powerful stories exhibited deep respect for patients. A moment of reflection after a patient dies, staff taking time to build trust, or having the empathy to ask the right questions. The Pitt shows the emotional toll of treating the critically ill and the resilience required for that dedication. Here's just a taste of the many issues the Pitt took on: vaccination denial, substance abuse, PTSD, sexual abuse, mental health, transgender health, neurodiverse patients, the challenges of accessing abortion, mass shootings, and dignity at the end of life. For a look at just a handful of many remarkable moments from season 1, let's watch. The Norman Lear Awards honors The Pitt with the Culture of Health Award for Season 1's singular portrayal of the Pittsburgh Trauma Medical Center. Please welcome creator, showrunner, and writer R. Scott Gemmell, and executive producer, writer, and incomparable Emmy-winning star, Noah Wiley, to accept. Joining them on stage is the Pitt writing team.
Thank you very much for this most prestigious recognition. We are all so lucky to get to do a job that we love, and we're doubly blessed to have a show that's been successful. Our first job is always to entertain, but when you have a format that allows you to reach millions of people every week, that comes with a certain amount of responsibility. And we take that to heart. It's important for us to tell our stories with truth and honesty and integrity. And part of the way we do that is through our ongoing and very special relationship with Hollywood Health and Society.
Oh, nice pass on. I'm also going to speak from the heart, as it's put me in good stead thus far with this endeavor. I really can't underestimate the help that Hollywood Health and Society has given our show. We prided ourselves on being the most medically accurate show on television. We have a really great writing staff. We have a very small writing staff. We have a terrific technical staff, represented tonight by Dr. Mel Fisher in the front row and Dr. Joe Sachs on the stage. But as brilliant as these two men are, they are not experts in cybersecurity. They're not experts in the fentanyl crisis or in the recovery road back for a doctor losing his license after an addiction. And for those conversations, we need to talk to people that are experts on the front lines. And thanks to Hollywood Health and Society, we got an all-star team of experts, both in season 1 and season 2, to draw our storylines from. And the man who asks those questions of those experts and helps funnel all that research and data is Dr. Joe Sachs.
Well, thank you. We have 3 physicians working with the writers. Myself, Dr. Mel Herbert, who's also the CEO of MRAP, which is the world's greatest continuing education resource in emergency medicine, and Dr. Greg Moran, professor of emergency medicine at UCLA and former director of Olive View Medical Center in Silmar, one of the county hospitals. And between us, we have 100 years of experience practicing emergency medicine. Yet when we need to dig deeply into a topic, there are experts in the world that know far more than we. And when we dig deeper, we get details and we get wonderful pearls that bring the magic to ER. And I have to thank Roberta Kruger. Roberta Kruger. The email goes to Roberta, and within a day or two, we have an appointment with the world's expert. And the 4 things that matter the most, death and dying, came from that briefing. The Freedom House Ambulance Service, the subtlety of talking to a family about organ donation. Just magic. And we can't thank her, and we can't thank Hollywood Health and Society enough. Thank you.
Okay. Well, if I've learned one thing tonight, it's I gotta get a checkup. Yeah, I'm gonna do that tomorrow. First thing, before we go, I want to mention Catherine Lunasa is on Jimmy Kimmel tonight. How about that? Huh? Yeah. So tune in. And before I go, let's see. I'm available for staffing. I'm in a good room for that. I'll bring the tub of red vines to put in the middle of the writer's room. I'll do that. Well, congrats to everybody for doing such great work, such important work. And join us in the lobby for champagne and cookies. Okay? Thank you, guys.
Some kind of fucked up.